Bonjour, bonjour à vous toutes et à vous tous. C'est compliqué, un dernier jour à l'heure du déjeuner. Donc, merci beaucoup à vous d'être là aujourd'hui. I will switch to English. I was just saying, Greg, this is complicated. Last day of the show, everybody's tired. Lunchtime, everybody's almost sleeping. So thank you very much for you to come here. We are thrilled to welcome Greg. Greg, you know Greg Lambrecht. You know his product. I'm sure. How many of you got a Coravin? Please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Do you have one Coravin? Do you have one of this engine? No. So you still have a market share to, we probably have 50% market share here. It's not representative, but so we are thrilled to have Greg today. He's one of the entrepreneurs who really managed to take technology into wine and to transform the experience. So, Greg, we're probably going to sit, and I'm going to throw you tons of questions.
Have at it.
How about it? We have 45 minutes, and I think we're probably going to test something new, which is super exciting.
Sure.
Have a seat.
Thank you, sir.
First question. I mean, everybody knows you. Everybody knows your story. But how will you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Greg Lambrecht. I'm the founder and inventor of Coravin. And I am also a medical device inventor developer. I work on spine surgery. So either if you have back pain or you're wanting a glass of wine, I'm happy to help.
Founder and inventor. So you're not a businessman. You're not an entrepreneur.
I am an entrepreneur. The difference between an inventor and an entrepreneur was explained to me by a friend. He said an inventor comes up with one device. An entrepreneur is somebody who uses that device to change the world. And so some inventors are very satisfied to have made the first of one thing, and they're excited and they move on. But really the thing for me is to have the products that I create positively influence as many people as possible. So I only work on things that have a positive influence. I don't want to destroy an industry. I only want to expand it. So with Coravin, I'm not asking you to never open a bottle. I open them at home still too. But there are all these situations where a glass is the perfect thing. And so I wanted to expand the ways that wine is enjoyed, served, and sold. And in medicine, I am trying to extend life that has a good quality of life. And so those are the two halves of my life. And of course, wine is a big part of the quality of life. So.
And this is absolutely unique. I mean, you have a very unique position, being able to work in two. So you're still working in medicine environment?
I still am. I spend 50% of my time at Coravin, and I spend 50% of my time at Intrinsic Therapeutics. And as my spouse tells me, and I spend no time on vacation. So I work every day. I love my work.
Now just imagine if we had 100% of you working on wine, what would have been the impact? Would that be great? You're coming with something new.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what is this?
Yeah, so how did I spend my pandemic? I had a great pandemic. Outside of the disease, I was stuck at home and I wanted to be able to drink champagne. I wanted to be able to drink champagne by the glass in the same way that I drank still wine by the glass. I have 800 different still wines in my house that I can serve you by the glass. So I have the largest wine by the glass program in the state of Massachusetts in my home. But none of that was champagne. So I wanted to be able to explore sparkling wine in the same way that I live with still wine for the last 20 years. And so we came up over the last 8-9 years, we've been developing and testing Coravin Sparkling. And now it has changed the way that I drink sparkling wine at home. I have 6 different sparkling wines open at all times. I have a glass of champagne every day, and my spouse has a different glass. It's a freedom and a joy that I've changed my life again, like with the original Coravin. So I get to serve you a glass.
Yes, sparkling is very complex.
Insanely complex.
Russian, I mean...
It took us 8 years.
8 years.
To get it right. I mean, you have Prosecco that is at 2 bar. You have California Sparkling that's at 7.6 bar. And you have champagne that's all in between. You have zero dosage, you have high dosage, you have in the middle, you have natural wine producers, you have You've got wines made of Blanc de Noir, you have Blanc de Blanc, you have wines made in New Zealand, you have sparkling wines of Shiraz in Australia. So the world of sparkling is as big, as broad, as complicated. You've got vintage champagnes from the 70s and 80s. And so how do you make one product that works with everything? And then, of course, you have different bottle designs. There are so many different neck designs that we had to work with. So our goal was to be able to allow you to serve any sparkling wine by the glass, which meant we had to fit on every bottle. And even just the mechanical fitting of the system to the bottle was a challenge. So it's
So you remove the cork,
you remove the cork.
and then, so can we try? Can we test?
Yes, I'm going to put down my my microphone so I can do this. It's
I'll hold on mine.
it's almost one-handed, but not quite. So we have a stopper that fits on any bottle, from a half bottle to a magnum. We built in a couple of special features to the bottle. I am in the Champagne region of the show, and so I've been hearing over the course of the last couple of days, bang, bang, as they take their stopper off. So we built in a system to allow it to be quiet, to release the pressure. You just press, so you can depressurize very easily, so it doesn't pop. We then have a handle that you open, and I pour. So this is, I'm pouring at a distance, and I'm a terrible sommelier. I apologize if I spill. So this is a bottle we opened quite a few days ago. We're down to the last glass. You simply place it on top like so.
And done.
And done, except we want to protect the perlage.
Yep.
So we developed a charger that uses pure CO2. It has a little indicator. It's set to about 4.2 bar. And so you press down, you'll see the indicator change from green to red as it charges. And when it gets to full, or green again, you're done.
Done.
And the wine lasts for at least 1 month. Wow. I'm actually opening my first 1-year sample when I go back to Boston.
Wow, amazing. I mean, that deserves a big round of applause. Thank you very much for you.
And we get a glass of Rar
And we
champagne.
need to, so yeah, I want to taste that.
I think this
definitely.
is Rar 2013. Lovely stuff. Yeah.
Nice. It's bubbly. It's bubbly, absolutely bubbly.
Cheers, my friend.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, so that's another new product. I happened to pass by your booth, and I saw also a big machine, very, very sexy, very well designed.
Thank you.
What is it?
So we're always trying to innovate at Coravin. We started with timeless, with a needle that goes through the cork and displaces wine using argon to allow still wine by the glass at home, in the restaurant, and at the winery. We've now moved to sparkling. I want to see the same thing with sparkling. I was just at a wonderful wine bar, Apéro, near Place de Madeleine yesterday, and they had 200 wines by the glass, but only 2 sparkling. And so I would like to see 10, 15 sparkling wines, champagnes by the glass in any restaurant. They should be able to serve you whatever you want by the glass. And so for us, we've realized what we've been doing is we have been separating the amount of wine you consume or buy from the volume that it is sold to you. So they sell it to you in 750 milliliters, but you drink it by the glass in the end. And so I think the last step is really to make wine available for sale in the quantity that you want to purchase. So if there's a new wine, you don't want to have to commit to the full bottle to find out whether or not you like that wine. And so Coravin has developed a very simple, small machine about the size of a microwave that can transfer wine from a bottle, a 750 or Magnum, or from a barrel, or from a tank, into 100 milliliter sample bottles. So the winery can use this machine themselves, transfer as much as they want, send it out to the trade. This is one of our partners is Aubailly in Bordeaux. And these are 5 different vintages of Aubailly.
It's very elegant.
Thank you.
You get a sense of quality.
Yeah.
It's
That was Veronique's request. So we've designed a machine that can very rapidly transfer wine on a tabletop into smaller sample bottles with a shelf life of 1 year plus, with no difference.
Let me make sure I understand what this is. Something you do in the chateau, in the vineyard. You don't have to send your wine to a facility to be embottled or entube. I don't know what to call it. But so that's done locally with your own production.
That's right.
I can open my own bottles and just do the process myself.
You can do it whenever you want.
Very smart.
So it's our goal was to make it as easy as possible for a wine producer to sample wine to sommelier, to sample wine to the trade, to sample wine to the press. I was at a major wine store in London, in the UK, that is sent samples every day of full bottles. And they told me they were throwing away 200 liters of wine a day.
That's a disaster.
Because they were opening the bottle sent to them, tasting a sample, and then tasting it, and then dumping the rest of the bottle. Because all they needed
as a winemaker, sending samples every day, and if I happen to know it's finishing like that, I mean, it's breaking my heart.
You do all this work in the vineyard, you do all this work in the cellar, and then the carbon footprint of shipping a full bottle of wine to somebody who just wants a taste. So I think from a sampling standpoint for the trade, it makes a lot of sense. We're also seeing, depending upon the laws, we're seeing wineries send direct to consumer. Yeah. So they're selling a small tasting kit of their full range to the consumer on their website to build a relationship with them. We're also seeing, depending again on the laws, in Australia, for example, a wine store sending samples to their customers of this year's Grand Cru or top Rieslings or the best Australian wines to have that customer decide how many of each they want to buy. So it's, I would like to expand again the way that wine is enjoyed, served, and sold. And so if we can break the hesitation to purchase because the customer now knows exactly what it tastes like behind the cork before they buy it, then we can create greater exploration amongst the consumer of all the varieties of wine we have.
This is very smart. We have a couple of companies in the WineTech who can offer something similar, but it's not the same approach, I think. And what I like very much about your offer is that this can be done in the chateau, in the domain, before it's sent out. So it opens a lot of opportunity. I'm thinking, for example, we're going to come in Bordeaux soon to the primeur. The primeur is a moment in the year where the new wine is shown to the journalists, all the people that's gonna give a rate on it, and people have to travel all over the world to come for Bordeaux for say 1 or 2 wine, 3 wine, 10 wines. But if we manage to find a way, not to sell them a bottle that will end up in a as you mentioned, but we have a simple way to send them something, by DHL, and in 2 days it goes to California.
Sure.
To Hong Kong, to Mr. James Suckling in 2 days.
Yep.
I mean, and he has enough to have a good opinion on, and he's got fresh wine. So that is probably one business case on application.
Absolutely, and we see it. I mean, Jancis Robinson has been speaking of the carbon footprint of the wine industry and the weight of the bottles and the shipping of the bottles being a major component. 30 to 40% of the carbon footprint of wine is the shipping. And she has said to me, make sure that people send in small format. I was at her house a long time ago, and she had 50, 60, 70 open bottles on her counter, and she was the same thing, tasting a small amount of each, and then what with all this wine? She
thrown away. So
yeah.
I mean, that's a very good ecological answer to a big disaster, I think. I also think about, is this thick enough in order to go into the post mail?
We're working on it. We didn't design it around the English mailbox. So for us, we sort of work at the high end of wine right now. And for them, it was more important that the bottle not look like a science experiment. They wanted it to look like a real bottle, so we added a shoulder to the glass. So I think, this is a business model that doesn't yet exist. Okay. And so our competitors aren't really our competitors. They're our friends in trying to build this market. The consumer is changing around the world. In the United States, the youngest generation is drinking less. There are more people abstaining. There's a lot of use of marijuana in my country now that competes with wine. But their generation and the generation slightly older wants to explore wine. They want to try new wines, try something different than their parents. And so I think we all have an opportunity to create easy ways for that generation to connect themselves with wine. And we have to, because we're competing with cocktails and with beer and with marijuana.
I want to come back to that marijuana thing.
Yeah.
But before, just to finish on that one, I was just thinking business case, sending a bottle in France is around 8 to 9 euros through DHL, Post, whatever. This, if it fits within a limited size and goes straight to the mailbox, it could be around 4 or 5 euros.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, almost half of it.
I will work on it.
So,
Our machine is variable.
so the business case, think about the business case,
Yeah.
just for sample, for testing, for
Sure.
journalists, I mean, Chateau Edmus, I'm a winemaker, I told you, and we made an experience with some tubes, and we proposed people to buy the tube and get online at a meeting for live testing with our winemaker. We got 200 people connected to it. It was great.
Yeah.
And people were drinking the same wine as we were doing with my winemaker on that day. Fantastic sharing experience. So, I mean, this is the kind of thing you can propose easily and nicely. Very flexible. So let's go back. I mean, we have 10 minutes to go. You have a global position. You live in the States. You travel the world. You meet people from the winemaking all over the world. You see consumption. You mentioned about young people. And coming from the US, I mean, I'd like to get your point of view on what are the latest behaviors you see, because that probably is going to arrive to Europe and the rest of the world later. You mentioned marijuana. You mentioned about beer. Can you tell us a little bit what's your view on how this world is moving today?
The wine industry is an incredible lens on a culture. And every culture is different, is what I've learned. We're in 60 countries, but it's a mistake to say that France is one country. There's at least 5 inside of France. The Burgundians are completely different from the Bordelais, who are very different from the Champenois. The Champenois are much more like the Burgundians, who are very similar to the German winemakers, because it's a family-owned, right? There's no CEO, right? The names are often hyphenated because of the generations of people, and they think very differently. The Australians are completely different from the rest of us, trust me. The Australians have no tradition they care about. They're willing to change tomorrow. The restaurateurs in London will do anything to make their customer happy and will serve anything by the glass. They have no prejudice until recently about where the wine comes from. Now they have a prejudice toward English wine and English sparkling, but before they will drink wine from anywhere in the world, whereas in different regions of France, you're drinking the region of France in the restaurant, right? Because so many great wines are made there. Why drink outside? So there's different mentalities in each of these countries. In the United States, we obviously spend more on a bottle of wine than almost anywhere else in the world. I have shocked many Champenois about the cost of their wine in the US relative to what it is here. What sells for €32 here is $120 in the United States. And why is that? It's because of the sommelier in New York. If the sommelier in New York believe in your wine and they mark it up, people set a value to it. They control, New York largely controls what the rest of the United States drinks from outside of California. Okay. Right? California controls California. And
another country.
Exactly. Yeah, we're at least 5 countries as well in the US. Marijuana has become more and more legal in the United States, and the younger generation is experimenting with marijuana beyond anybody else, and so their drinking consumption has dropped. Also, the health concerns about alcohol in general. It was published in Canada, so it's had an effect from our northern neighbors into the younger generation, who's very health conscious. And so we see a decline in consumption in the younger generation relative to the...
But we have that in Europe as well, and marijuana is not it's not legal at all.
Yep.
So, but do you think there is a shift from one to another? Would you see it like that?
I think it's temporary. I think there's, when anything illegal is now legal, there's a big experimentation. I think people will come back to wine, but it's not because we are passive in the wine industry. We need to be active in the wine industry to attract this younger generation to reasonable consumption of wine. Anything in excess is dangerous. Drinking wine in excess is dangerous. But it's in
sugar, salt,
sugar,
whatever.
salt, alcohol. But yeah, sugar, exactly. So if you, at Coravin, we've navigated this because we can also work with wine in moderation. We serve by the glass. There's no pressure to finish this bottle. I love this bottle, but there's no pressure to finish it. I can drink it today, or I can drink it in a month or 2 months. And so we are naturally connected to drink better but less with Coravin.
Moderation.
Moderation.
It's all about moderation.
It is. You drink with food. And so I think we have that, and we have that as an industry to promote, to connect people to wine in a safe and enjoyable way. But it's our responsibility to react. If we just sit back and do nothing, the wine industry will decline because other things are not passive. Marijuana is not passive in the United States.
It's very active. Marketing budgets.
Huge amounts of money being invested. Yeah.
It's becoming cool.
It's maybe, I think it's peaked. I think we've hit peak marijuana in the U.S.
Okay.
You know, I think the excitement is beginning to drop a little bit, and we see that in some of their businesses struggling.
I just want to go back a little bit about the by the glass, because mainly this is what you created, and if you look at restaurants, by the glass is a fantastic opportunity. Margin-wise, this is great. I've heard many times that the first glass of wine should pay almost the price of the bottle, give you a sense of then the margin. But then, of course, if the rest of the bottle is wasted because it's champagne and after 2 days it's no more gas, so then you're offering a new perspective, you know, that probably to then reduce the price and so more by the glass. So I wish we can see more by the glass and more by the glass of great wines, not only 5-10 euros wines, but you know, if I have only one glass to choose for lunch, and maybe I would like to have a Aubailly, and maybe I will pay 15 or 17 or 20 euros, but that's an amazing wine. And one glass is good enough. So I think we should encourage for the great wines, fantastic wines, to have probably even small glasses.
It's a big movement for us. So Coravin is an implied change in behavior. If I talk to a consumer, the number one thing they say to me is, I don't need that, I finished the bottle. I finished the bottle. I don't have to worry about this. And what I say to them is, imagine you could have a glass of champagne, a glass of white Burgundy, and a glass of Rhone on a Tuesday. And your spouse could have 3 different wines. Maybe she has a rosé sparkling, or rosé champagne, and maybe then she has a Riesling from Alsace, and then maybe she has a Bordeaux. You can have 6 different wines on a Tuesday and put all those wines back and drink them whenever you want. It's not the finish the bottle thing. There's 400 years of tradition of pulling the cork and finishing a bottle. Do you know why it is 750 milliliters? Because that was the lung volume of a glass blower on the south coast of England in the 1600s. That is why.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Those bottles are in Berry Brothers and Rudd, if you want to see them. So that is why it's 750 milliliters. Sometimes that makes sense, but not always. And so breaking that tradition is what we do. And so by the glass at home, by the glass in the restaurant, restaurants also have this tradition. And so they only offer inexpensive wines on their by the glass because they're willing to throw them away at the end. But if you have no waste, you can offer better wines and have a higher euro margin. Maybe the percentage is the same, but the euros you make are more on by the glass, and your customer is happy. The goal of a restaurant is to create an experience that is positive, that the customer remembers. And what better way is there than offering them something they could not find somewhere else and making them happy? They will come back because they remember that positive experience. So we have such an educational responsibility at Coravin to change the behavior both at home and in the restaurant. And so that's half of what we do.
And Greg, this is amazing. I'm just conscious about time flying, and I think we can speak here for hours. This is so inspiring. Yesterday we have Aini Zakarian-Sen, the founder of Vivino, and he said one thing. He said innovation comes from outside. You're coming from outside in a way. So I mean, this is definitely have an impact on our industry, on our business, and I really love it. I would like to give the opportunity of one question in the room. We had tons of questions of people asking me, hey, ask that, but maybe the room, if you have one question to ask Greg, and then we need to wrap it up. Anybody?
Hello, sir. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Thank you, and thank you for all what you did for us. My only question was, you have other size of little bottle that you can sample from your machine?
We are starting with 100 milliliters. The machine is on limited release. We want to make sure it's perfected. So we are going to be able to use 50 milliliters, 100 milliliters, and 1875. So we'll be able to make 3 different sizes in the same machine.
Greg, thank you very much. We're on time. So inspiring. Big round of applause for Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Really.
And welcome to WineTech.
Thank you for having me. You guys are amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
I think I deserve my selfie with you.
Yeah, well, let's finish this wine. And if anybody would like to see, this is the very first Coravin made in my basement 24 years ago. Looks a little bit more dangerous and like medicine than what we've come to. And I show you this for one reason, to convince you that I am a bad product designer and that the only reason Coravin is successful is because we have an amazing team of engineers, salespeople, marketing people. So you cannot be successful in business without an incredible team. But this is Coravin 1. It was actually called Wine Mosquito 1.